multiplier and multiplier calculation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Before we start, I will introduce my group member. The first is Rashid with the student's my number 130. Second is Tiara with the student's my number 120. And the last it's me, Mindy, with the student's my number 116.
The multiplier is a number that shows the ratio between the amount of increase or decrease in national income and the amount of increase or decrease in aggregate expenditure that has caused a change in income. The multiplier has a relationship with national income. If the multiplier has a high number, then change that occur in this variable will affect the level of national income as well and vice versa. The change in national income is indicated by a multiplier number called the multiplier coefficient. A simple example of applying multiplier in life is alms. For example, we give charity 10,000 rupiahs, then sometime in the future, God will give us 5 times the sustenance of what we gave before, which is the 50,000 rupiahs we get.
So in this section, I will explain to you about what the formula of multiplier effect. So in here we have the multiplier effect, that the formula is K 1 divided by 1 minus MPC, or 1 divided 1 minus B, or 1 minus MPS. So as we know that the multiplier effect has 3 formula that actually it's all the same. So in here I will explain to you where does the formulas come from. What is MPC, what is MPS, and what is P. So before we going to start the explanation of the material, we have to know about the consumption function. That we have already studied about consumption function in the last semester. So as we know in here, you can see that C equals to A plus B Y, where C is the consumption function equals to A, where A is the basic number when Y is equals to 0, and plus B, where B is the MPC and Y is the income. So if we input or substitute that consumption function into the MPC or MPS, so in multiplier effect K equals to 1 per 1 minus MPC, that means 1. That is the same as 1 divided by 1 minus B. So as you can see here, I will explain to you what is MPC and what is MPS. I will give you some analogy about what is the formula MPC or MPS come from. So what is MPC? MPC is abbreviation of marginal propensity consume. So what does that mean? Okay, I will give you the example like this. So if I have the income that around Y, so how many comparison that I get when it's divided by consume divided by income? So I will give you the example. A is the income, delta income, and B is delta consume. So if I got the income, it's around $20,000 per month, and I will consume about $15,000 a month. So my propensity of what I will consume of my income is around $15,000. So if we put the analogy into the formula, you can see that delta C divided by delta Y, it's equals to $15,000 divided by $20,000. That equals to 0.75. So the propensity that I've consumed all my income is about 0.475. So we're going to move on to MPS. So what is MPS stand for? So MPS is marginal propensity to save. That in Indonesia, you can say in Indonesia, kecenderungan seseorang untuk mengeluarkan pendapatannya untuk disimpan. So MPS is the opposite mean of MPC. That means where if we consume our income, so in MPS we save our income, which means how many income that we will consume is comprehend to the saving that we have. So I will give you the analogies again about what if our income is equals to 1. So if the MPC that we have calculated before is about 0.75, so the MPS is 1 minus 0.75. That means 0.25. So if we wanna give you the example of how this works is what if I have the income is about $20k and I will consume about $15k, the remainder of my income is I will put it into the saving mode, which is it's around $5k. So you can see that in the blue bar it's our income. In total is that about $20k. So if we consume our income is about $15k, you can see in the red bar. So that means the remains of our income is what we will going to save. That which means in the green bar you can see is around $5k. So if we're going to conclude and making this the formula again, is MPC plus MPS is equals to 1, which one is Y or the income. So we are going to the next part. Before that, we have to understand that the previous lesson is all about the comparison spending between consumption and saving in individual or small scale, which means in microeconomic scale. What if we take the example to the next level, I mean in the larger scale or macroeconomy? As you can see here, we put the formula of national income affected by the multiplier coefficient. The formula is delta y equals to the coefficient multiplier times to the variable multiplier. Okay, I will give you more analogy about the MPCs and MPS. The deepest understanding of all this concept in the government scale, which means macroeconomy, how all of this work and etc. The first one is MPC. So let's say the government spend their budget to stimulate all the national income by issuing fiscal policy, which means the government expelled their money into subvention and tax amnesty so that the people receive all of the budget and use it for their needs. The government spend their money, let's say around 100 billion rupiahs to the people. So that's clear that the first party, the fiscal policymaker, aka the government, gives to the second parties, the people, as a subvention receiver. The second party have to spend their income into different ways of spending. The one is they spend into to consume, another one into saving. Let's say they split it equally 50-50. So the third parties or the receiver from the second parties have the money into their pocket is now 50 billion from the second party's consume spending budgets. The third party will do the same, and this process is going all the way at any given time. The conclusion is all the sum of the spending budget of consume from the first party or the government to the end parties is the total number of the real GDP at aggregate demand. The comparison quantity of money that the first party have spent of the total agreement demand can we call as the multiplier effect. As we see from the example, the government gives the subvention 100 billion so that the people can expend the money in the order to increase the total number of GDP. Let's say the people's MPC's index is 0.75, so the MPS will be 0.25. If we calculate them, the coefficient multiplier effect is 4. So the total number of national income will be 100 billion times 4, which is 400 billion. And I will give you some real example in macroeconomy. So if the government decided to issuing fiscal policy or give the people subsidy, let's say 20 billion rupiahs, if the MPS is 0.25, how many return that the government would get? So the government expenditure is 20 billion rupiahs. The multiplier effect formula is 1 divided by MPS or 1 divided by 0.25, and the result is 4. And how many the government would get? Yes, we have the formula in top right of the screen, which is delta y equals to coefficient multipliers times variable multiplier, which 4 times 20 billion rupiah. So we can say that if the coefficient multiplier index is 4 and the government expenditure is 20 billion, the national income affected by the coefficient multiplier is 80 billions. And then we move to the main part of this lesson, the more deepest understanding of multiplier effect formula. Where does it come from and how do we use it? You may asking, where does Q equals to 1 divided by 1 minus MPC and 1 divided by MPS? Okay, before we dig into deeper, we have to understand the lesson from the last semester, which means national income, consume, saving, and investment, and 2, 3, 4 type sector economy. We take part of the formula of national income expenditure approach in 4-sector economy or open economy system that contains more complex variables. There are consume, investment, government expenditure, export, import, tax, and transfer payment. So we're going to break down the formula. So in here, y equals to c plus I plus g plus x minus m, where c is equals to a plus by. Substitute the c function into y at the right side of the national income equation. So y equals to a plus by plus I plus g plus x minus m. Remember that we have another variable which are tax and tr, or tx and tr. Those two variables can be put or substitute into y. So the formula sounds like this: y equals to a plus b, open brackets, y minus tx plus tr close brackets plus I plus g plus x minus m. And then variable b can be multiplied by open brackets y minus tx plus tr close bracket. So the formula will sound like this: y equals to a plus by minus btx plus btr plus I plus g plus x minus m. Move the variable y into one side or the left side. So the formula sounds like this: y minus by equals to a minus btx plus btr plus I plus g plus x minus m. Put up the y variable like this: open brackets 1 minus b close brackets multiplied by y equals to a minus btx plus btr plus I plus g plus x minus m. Move 1 minus b to the right side, so the 1 minus b will be the denominator in the right side. So y equals to a minus btx plus btr plus I plus g plus x minus m, and divided by 1 minus b. Okay, we have a glimpse of the description of the relationship between the equation that we have broken down in there and the multiplier effect equation. So chi equals to 1 divided by 1 minus b looks that the denominator of the equation above is similar into multiplier effect equation denominator. So So if we want to take one of the variable of the equation and divide it by the denominator, we will get the same formula of multiplier effect. Let's say we want to take g variable. We only take the coefficient of it, which means 1, and divide it by its own denominator. We will get the same formula of multiplier effect, which means 1 divided by 1 minus b, or 1 divided by MPS. So what if we want to find tx coefficient multiplier? So take the tx variable's coefficient, which is minus b, divided by its own denominator, which is 1 minus b. So that minus b divided by 1 minus b, or minus MPC divided by MPS. What if we want to find investment coefficient multiplier? So take the variable I coefficient, which is 1 divided by 1 minus b, or 1 divided by MPS, which is same as g coefficient multiplier formula. Okay, we will begin to answer the question that I have delivered in this video. A consumption function C equals to 10 million plus 0.875 YT. If the government had issuing fiscal policy, or they give subvention around $75 million and tax amnesty, so the people only pay tax about $10 million, determine A. Multiplier effect of the government expenditure and tax, and B. The effect or output on the national income. So let's do it. Okay. A. The coefficient of government expenditure variable is G, which means GK equals to 1 divided by 1 minus MPC. We know that B is equals to MPC, so 1 divided by 1 minus 0.875, so the coefficient of G is 8. And then the coefficient of tax variable is Tx, so Txk equals to minus b per 1 minus b, which minus MPC per 1 minus MPC, so minus 0.875 divided by 0.125, so minus 7 per 8 divided by 1 per 8 equals to minus 7. So the coefficient of tax variable is minus 7. And then B. Okay, as we know that the effect of multiplier in this case is two variable, GK and TXK. Did you still remember that the formula of national income affected by coefficient of multiplier effect? Yes, delta y equals to coefficient multipliers multiply variable multipliers. So we find it one by one depend on the variable above. First, we find national income affected by the government expenditure multiplier variable. Delta y or G equals to the government expenditure coefficient or G, which is 8, multiplied by the government expenditure multiplier variable, which is $75 million. So the result is $1,600 million. And the second one, we find national income affected by the tax multiplier variable delta y tx or equals to tax coefficient or tx is -7 multiplied by tax multiplier variable is $10 million. So the result is -$70 million. So what the result of delta y? Yes, it is $530 million. So this is what the government would get in real GDP form if they spend into subventions $75 million with tax amnesty that the people have to pay is $10 million with C equals to 10 million plus 0.8075 YD. If you have any question, you can answer to our group. We will apologize of all our mistakes. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Hello everyone, we are from Group 2 and we're going to explain about multiplier and accelerate. But first, let's get acquainted with us. First, it's me, Aurelia. Second is Wahyu Aji. Third is Noval. And fourth, we got Osama. So, let's move on to the material. First, the definition of multiplier. What is multiplier? Multiplier is the relationship between change in investment and change in national income caused by change in inversion. Bila K merupakan multiplier, maka K sama dengan delta Y per delta I. Dan factor affecting multiplier atau faktor-faktor yang mempengaruhi multiplier. First ada spending period, and then house atau konjungtur tinggi, third investment for consumption, and fifth state spending atau pengeluaran negara. And then we get leakage atau kebocoran. It's a leakage where the factors MPS and MPI that cause the process of increasing income cannot take place continuously, di mana MPI sama dengan delta M per delta Y. And then, what is accelerator atau apa itu akselerator? Akselerator merupakan proses investasi baru karena adanya pertambahan konsumsi, di mana besarnya investasi sangat tergantung dari perubahan investasi dibandingkan dengan perubahan konsumsi, yaitu delta I divided delta C. And then this is the exercise. Diketahui pendapatan nasional sebesar 170 triliun, lalu ada konsumsi 150 triliun, investasi 20 triliun, perubahan penambahan investasi sebesar 10 triliun, dan MPC 0,6. Lalu yang ditanyakan adalah berapakah pendapatan nasional yang baru atau Y aksen, dan ini berikut merupakan cara pengerjaannya. Next.
Definition of leverage. Leverage is the use of fixed costs or expenses in an effort to increase profit. Leverage also increases profit variability, meaning that if the company turns out to be getting lower profits than its fixed costs or expenses, the use of leveraging will reduce profit. This is graphic for variable costs. Variable costs are costs that change in the short run due to change in the company's operation. Example, raw material cost, direct labor cost, atau PTKL atau biaya tenaga kerja langsung, and direct marketing cost. This is graphic for fixed costs. Fixed costs are costs that do not change in the short run due to operating variability, level of output, products, and sales. Example, depreciation of building, vehicles, equipment, insurance expense, rent expense, manager salary, and PBB. This is graphic for semi-variable costs. Semi-variable costs are costs that increase gradually with an increase in output. Example, electricity and water costs, machine maintenance, and repair costs. Operating leverage. Operating leverage is related to the fixed costs incurred by the company at a certain level of sale. By using operating leverage, the company expects that a change in sales will result in a large change before interest and tax, or EBIT. The multiplier effect resulting from the use of fixed operating costs on EBIT is called the degree of operating leverage, or DOL. Degree of operating leverage DOL Q units sama dengan persentase dari EBIT perubahan dibagi dengan persentase dari sale change atau penjualan perubahan. Untuk rumus DOL Q unit atau untuk rupiah adalah sama dengan Q dikalikan P min PC per Q dikalikan P min PC min FC. Dan rumus untuk DOL penjualan atau disimbolkan dengan RP sama dengan S min TVC per S min TVC plus FC. Untuk Q sama dengan quantity, P sama dengan price, VC sama dengan variable cost, FC sama dengan fixed cost, and CS sama dengan sale.
Exercises. On PT-LPC, they have product selling price that is 200 per unit and variable cost 100 per unit. DOL Q per unit is equal to percentage of EBIT change divided by percentage of sales change. The DOL of product A is equal to plus 100% divided by plus 50% equal to 2. Meanwhile, for DOL of product B is equal to negative 100% divided by negative 50% equal to 2. The greater the value generated, and the greater the level of operating leverage. To measure it is using DOL per 1000 units is equal to Q times P minus variable cost divided by Q times P minus variable cost and minus fixed cost. And then you have 1000 times 200 minus 100 divided by 1000 times 200 minus 100 minus 50,000 equal to 100,000 divided by 50,000, which equals to 2. So then we know that at the time of 1,000 sales, if sales increase by 1%, then the EBIT will increase by 2%. Definition of financial leverage. Financial leverage is the use of sources of funds that have a fixed burden in the hope of obtaining additional profits that are greater than the fixed cost so that it will increase shareholder profits. Financial leverage shows change in earnings per share or EPS as a result of changes in EBIT. The multiplier effect that is generated due to the use of this fixed load is called the degree of financial leverage or DFL. Degree of financial leverage is the change in earnings per share due to changes in earnings before interest and taxes, or the ratio between the proportion of changes in EPS compared to the proportion of changes in EBIT. Degree of financial formula. The degree of financial formula is calculated by percentage of EPS changes divided by percentage of EBIT change, or Q times P minus fixed cost minus variable cost divided by Q times P minus variable cost minus fixed cost minus interest minus preferred stock dividend divided by 1 minus tax, or EBIT divided by EBIT minus interest, or EBIT divided by EBIT minus interest minus divided by 1 minus tax.
Exercises. From the table below, we ask about TFL. TFL equals EBIT divided by EBIT minus interest minus T divided by 1 minus T. We can know the TFL is 1 million divided by 50,000. It means 2. And then the conclusion is TFL equals 2 indicates that when EBIT is 1 million, every 1% change in EBIT will be resulted in a 2% change in EPS. Total leverage. Total leverage occurs when the company has good operating leverage as well as financial leverage in an effort to increase profits for common stockholders. Degree of total leverage, TTL, is the multiplier effect on change earning per share, or EPS, due to changes in sales. In other words, TTL is the ratio between the proportion of changes in EPS with the proportion of changes in sales. This is the formulas. TTL equals percent of EPS change divided by percent of sales change, or TTL equals EPS change divided by EPS divided by sales change divided by sales. And then we have the other formula. TTL equals Q multiplied by P minus VC, then divided by Q multiplied by P minus VC, N minus FC minus I minus T that divided by 1 minus T. And then the last formula is EBIT plus FC divided by EBIT minus I minus T that divided by 1 minus T. And the last but not least, we have a gift for you guys. This is the other exercise for finding TTL, TFL, and TOL. I hope you enjoy our video and all of you can understand about the material so well. Thank you guys. Is there any questions?